Hello, everybody. Assalamu alaikum. My name is Fatima Rasul, and welcome to another edition of Zooming In on the Halal Metropolis, where we look at how local Muslims are dealing with the COVID-19 pandemic. Today, we're here with Janan Wutwut, who is a student at U of M-Dearborn. Janan, how are you? How's your family doing? How are you guys dealing with all of this?
Alhamdulillah, I think we're pretty good. An upside in this whole situation is it actually brought our family closer together. I know a lot of students, especially college students, tend to kind of separate home life with schoolwork. And I remember I was always out from morning to night, either at school, at work, or studying. So that's one of the bright sides, or a portion of the bright side, is that our family got closer. I got close with my older siblings and my younger siblings, which I completely like. Besides that, it kind of sucks that we can't visit friends, or we can't have other family members or distant family members come over and stuff like that, especially during the month of Ramadan, which Ramadan Kareem to everyone.
Kareem.
But that's the only downfall. I personally like to look at things through a positive viewpoint. I don't like looking at things in a negative viewpoint, because it distorts reality, in the sense where if you focus on the bad, bad will come to you. If you focus on the good, good will come to you. So that's how I'm kind of me and my family, that's how we're kind of navigating through this, this tough time, through this pandemic, and stuff like that.
Right. So, Janan, you are a senior at U of M-Dearborn, and unfortunately,
Yes.
so much has changed I'm a senior too. So much has changed for us with just going online, and also all of our graduation activities being canceled. Tell me how you're feeling about that. How's it been doing schoolwork online? How does it feel like having all of these events postponed or canceled?
Okay, so personally, I do not like online courses. I never did. I took one my sophomore year in college, and I never took an online class after that. I am more of an interactive learner, so I need to be in class, I need to be taking notes, I need to be asking questions. That kind of took away that part, transitioning onto online. I know we were trying our best to make the transition smooth, which some of my professors really did. And one thing that really sucked was the fact that some of my professors kind of increased the load work, expecting us to kind of just be at home and not really do anything. Whereas then, other students like me, I was still working during the whole transition from transitioning from campus to online, which was kind of difficult for me because I was juggling, school work and, responsibilities I had to do at home, which was kind of it was very time consuming. And I found it to be more difficult, and I found it that I wasn't learning anything. I wasn't interactively learning, which I personally like to. I like to take my time in learning. I like to ask questions. And on top of that, I like to hold little study groups with my friends that are in the class. And I like to go over the information, which we really couldn't do. Don't get me wrong, Zoom, and we use Zoom, big blue jean, I think, or blue jeans. Yeah, and then we used another professor used a different outside organization that she works with and stuff like that, which was completely fine. But I felt like I wasn't learning. And graduation on top of that, I've been going to school for 5 years. So traditionally, most undergrads go to school for 4 years. Unfortunately, I did not follow the traditional path because certain things happened in my life that kind of put schoolwork and college on a for me. So I ended up finishing in 5 years, and it really hurt feeling and knowing that I wasn't gonna walk at any time soon. I understand there might be a postponement in December, but it made me feel I don't know how to explain it, and I don't know if I'm making sense right now, but it makes me feel it really hurt me. And I have other friends also graduating. You, Hajar, Ala, Abu Hashim, we're all graduating this semester, and I feel after working so hard, after the countless nights that I didn't sleep, after the countless mental breakdowns I had, you know, after the countless fights I've gotten in with my family because I put studying over like everything and anything. You know, I would want to cherish, you know, this moment and like, you know, walking, you know, on a stage and, you know, celebrating with my family and friends. You know, me and my friend were like planning a graduation party and like that's out the window, you know. That's that's like a little of what I feel or what's, you know, been going on. I've been trying to look at the bright side, you know. Unfortunately I didn't get the time to actually go get my cap and gown. So I actually had a friend of mine that graduated last semester drop hers off. So I'm still planning on like, you know, having a photo shoot because I'm like a photographer on the side. I'm planning on having a photo shoot with my cap and gown. You know, me and my family were thinking of having our own like little like graduation ceremony like in my backyard because we have a really big backyard. So like I'm trying to look at it in a way where like I'm making the best of what I have, you know, during the times.
Yeah, I know it's extremely difficult, but congratulations, like all your hard work is really paying off, and I know it's disappointing that we can't like graduate and celebrate ourselves, but I'm glad that you and your family are still able to come together and celebrate you because you are deserving of that celebration. Um,
Thank you so much.
so tell me, you were working up until a few weeks ago. Tell me what happened with working, how it was. You're also a phlebotomist at Beaumont Wayne, or you were, and dealing with all the COVID-19 stuff on like basically the front line. Tell me how that was, and also why you're not currently working anymore.
Okay. So yes, I was working for up until exactly 2 weeks ago. It was really hard seeing the patients the way that they were. In the beginning, like what we had a few cases. I was actually working that night, where the first case actually came into Beaumont Wayne, and you know, all I can remember is like these rush of emotions, like, you know, there's no way, you know, it came to America, like could how could, you know, something like COVID-19, the coronavirus, come to the United States, you know. But like I had hope in the sense that, you know, we are like the greatest nation, quote unquote, that we're going to get through this. And, you know, just seeing the transition from the amount of patients that were coming into the hospital. You know, at first it was only the nurses dealing with the patients. After we had an influx or like a flood of patients, it was just the nurses. Now it's the nurses, it's the nurse aides, the, you know, the techs, the phlebotomists. Like we had to gear up. You know, everyone was gearing up, and you know, it scared me, but it empowered me in the sense where this is something I want to do for the rest of my life. I want to go into medicine. I want to help people that have no one. And I think that's the saddest thing about this whole pandemic is I thrive on support. You know, I was in the hospital once, and my, you know, my friends and family, they all like surrounded me, and I love that. I personally believe that that encourages the healing process.
Mhm.
You know, seeing patients and, you know, in the hospital and, you know, them by themselves, it really hurt me. And I think I have a strong sense of, you know, of dealing with my emotions. I kind of put my emotions to the side. There was this one patient that really got to me. I was drawing her blood, and when I draw people's blood, I tend to like talk to them because they haven't really seen anyone in a couple hours besides the nurse or the nurse's aide. So I'll just ask them, you know, how are they doing? You know, if they're doing better. And this one patient, she actually told me that she's like she thought that she knew fear until recently. Like she's telling me that she's like, you'll never understand what fear is until you cannot breathe.
Yeah.
You know, she's like in that moment where I could not breathe, she's like, I didn't know where else to turn. And like that, like at that moment, I usually hold myself, and like alhamdulillah, I held myself. I don't want to show the patients that, you know, that their situation's affecting me, because I don't want to get them any more sadder than they already are. But that, I think it really brought everything into perspective. You know, a lot of people are, you know, out and about, you know, they're not really like practicing social distancing, and like they're taking the situation like, and I wish I could show people what like we see. what the doctors and the nurses see. You know, it's not all fun and rainbows. At the end of the day, people are dying alone, and they're being buried alone, which is not something that I personally believe anyone should be. You know, and I think I've seen all aspects of this pandemic. I've seen the aspect of, you know, staying at home, you know, not being able to work because my hospital shut down. I've seen the side where I have to work in the hospital, you know, and there was this week span where I worked over, I think between the 2 week span, I worked over 80 hours because two phlebotomists quit, and I didn't have anything to do, so I was filling in the gaps, you know, just in case not all the draws have to fall on only one person. Like, I was filling in the gaps, and it was really hard. It was hard, grueling work, you know. And I've seen actually the death part of it, where, you know, I have a family member that's in the graveyard, and I was visiting him, and, you know, that day alone, you know, there was 4 new graves, you know, and just seeing the recovery side, the death side, you know, the whole the whole puzzle. I've seen every part of the pandemic, and it saddens me, and it brings me hope, in the sense that we can get through this. We just have to work together in the best way that we can. And it's exactly like this. Like, we can't have interviews in person, but we're having interviews over, you know, Zoom, or, you know, we meet in person, but we're still staying connected. I think that's the most important thing in this whole pandemic. We have to make it seem that people are not alone. You know, I don't know what we would do if we were a society that was just living every day as if, you know, with no one with them, if that makes sense. I'm a big supporter of, you know, showing love and support in any way possible, you know. And there's so many initiatives, you know, out there, you know. There was an initiative that I was a part of with the Imam Ali Association, where, you know, in the beginning, where people had to cut off their income was cut off, so a lot of people couldn't afford, you know, essential foods, you know. And especially with everyone going to the grocery store and buying like bulks of
Right.
like rice, bulks of everything, that was good for them, but it took away the fact that another family member or another person in our community that doesn't get paid like that, they now have nothing. You know, they
Right.
can't go to the grocery store and buy things in bulk, you know. So they're basically stuck with going to 3 or 4 different Targets, 3 or 4 different Walmarts, just trying to find certain essential things that they need. So that's basically a little tidbit, or a little like story of how I felt with working during this pandemic. And to be honest, if it was up to me, I would continue working. But because I'm contingent, and because the hospital that I work at shut down, they didn't call me back, in the sense where they would want me to work in other places. Like Hajar, for example, she's like a part-time employee, so she got called and she was sent to a different location. I wasn't, because I'm contingent, which is completely fine. I like seeing everything holistically. I like seeing the big picture, and I think this is an important aspect in my part in what I get to do. Yes, I'm not helping patients. I'm not directly helping them, but I can do my part at staying home, at social distancing, at washing my hands, at following the right protocol. That's how I do my part. You know, that's how my family does their part. That's how everyone can do their part. You know, this disease is very fast acting, and it's very dangerous. And I feel like if people understood the magnitude of the situation, that they wouldn't be like taking light of the situation.
Right, of course. And I think social distancing is just like the smallest thing we could even do, and but it has such major effects, so it's so important to carry through with it. And again, Janan, I just want to say congratulations on graduation.
Thank you.
Very proud of you. I'm sure your family's extremely proud of you. Ramadan Kareem. Thank you for joining me on
Ramadan.
this interview.
Of
Everyone, thank
course.
you for tuning in, and watch out for another edition of Zooming In on the Halal Metropolis. Ramadan Mubarak.
Ramadan Mubarak, everyone.